Hello and welcome to this watercolor session. What you see in front of you is a pencil sketch of a town called Murten, which is in the Fribourg canton of Switzerland. I did it a couple of weeks back. The original scene used to look like this, which has been simplified for the purpose of watercolor. And for doing this, our supplies for the day would be paints, which are basically tubes of different varieties, a set of brushes, which will come in handy when we make the washes, a palette with a large mixing area for mixing the paints, and of course water and a couple of spray bottles. Using this, let's see what we can make out of this scene. I start with the sky, which value-wise is the lightest part of this painting. Using some cobalt blue and chrome yellow, I try to create the impression of a mid-morning sky. The important thing to note here is because of the aerial perspective, the upper part of the sky, considering it to be of a spherical shape which is closer to us, will appear darker than the lower part. After the sky, I now start painting the building. Considering the whole building as one big shape, I allow all the colors to merge partially by touching each wet area with the next. So part of the window green will merge with the wall yellow, and though we may not realize, but this is how we actually see in the real world. Colors tend to merge with the adjacent colors in the visual world. Sometimes while using water spray, I use a guard for more accurate spraying, and this guard is transparent so that I can compare the part which is sprayed from the part which is not and decide when to stop. Using a medium-sized Raphael mop brush, I now start painting the building masses on the other side. My focal area is the church in the center, which I want to do last so that I can control and contrast the value to my satisfaction. All these building masses that I'm doing now, I'm going to treat them like one big shape during my first wash. Like all colors will flow into one another. This will lay out a nice integrated underpainting. And in my later washes, I'll put in some minimal details and variations in value into that big shape to denote distance and massing. I hope I'm making sense. Touch up a painted area with some water to create a few lost and found edges. A variation in the treatment of edges is very important to create an illusion of reality. Now, since I have individually blocked the different shapes and I've not used an underlying wash for the most part of the painting, I need a single large wash to connect all the shapes together to form a coherent composition. Now, like in most cases, for me, this would be the large shadow shape which would be connecting everything together. Now, typically, the color of a shadow is the complement of the color of the object casting it. But still the shadow would catch some local color. It would be influenced by the surface on which it is cast, What I mean to say here is the shadow should vary in value and hue to create a richness and depth of its own. Because you see, after all, the shadow is also a shape in the composition and it should be treated likewise. And now it's time to paint the focal area. This is where I would like the viewer's eyes to get stuck. So I would try to create the maximum contrast here because contrast is a very strong visual magnet. That's why I have reserved the use of strongest colors for this area. I'll use burnt sienna and cobalt blue pigments, which are very nice complements in almost pure form here. They have been used everywhere else, but they have been grayed down. I have found that this kind of treatment of hue creates a very good contrast. There are many ways to create contrast, which maybe we'll see in some subsequent sessions. At this stage, I think the painting is more or less finished. The focal area, the church, has come out well because of the treatment of values of the building masses around it and also the dominant form of the bell tower. So I must now stop. One should know when to stop. What's remaining are the figures, which will add a little more interest and life to this composition, and we should do that very lightly so that the focus does not shift from the center of interest. While drawing figures, I would suggest that one should study the techniques of drawing figures in watercolor by Fiona Peart and Mel Stabin, amongst others. Proportion is important, and the shape of the shoulders is also important. Position of hand and feet will denote action, and color of one part must flow into the other part because it can create a very credible human-like form. So with the figures in place, the painting is now finished. I think there are enough elements of interest in the painting, and all the lines, all the shapes, everything is leading towards the focal area, which is there in the center, a little off center, and that should be it. I think we should call it a day and just sign the painting.